Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. This is my second attempt to make this video. The first one just got blipped off about 5 minutes in and not worth splitting into two for uploads. So I'm a bit annoyed. Can you tell? Yes. I don't know how to get rid of that pop-up either. Right, that's gone. Right. The time is 7:12 p.m. on the 19th of May 2025, Monday evening. And we're reading from, we had already begun reading from, Man, Myth and Magic. So let us begin yet again. Crazy Maggie. Man, Myth and Magic is an encyclopedia of the supernatural. Editor Richard Cavendish introduces this vast area of human speculation, which is as full of contrast and colour, of darkness and light, as the mind of man himself. Here we have a picture of the mummified corpse of Ramses II, ruler of Egypt, who died in 1225 BC. He would have been quite good looking when he was alive too, I might add. Yes. Prehistoric ritual murder. The head of the hanged man of Toland in Jutland. The bodies of sacrificed men were thrown after death into lakes, some of which dried up and became peat bogs, where the bodies were preserved. I'll just point you to this one here. That is a mummified, preserved head of a man. Right, and the one next to it Aztec skull encrusted with turquoise mosaic, believed to represent Tezcatlipoca in his black aspect as Lord of Misfortune. Just want to give you a better look at the, not at Misfortune, but at his beautiful mosaic done in turquoise. As someone who's self-teaching silversmithing, I'm passionate about gemstones too. Passionate about many things, but gemstones is one of my favourite things. Right, number 4. Mexican skull made of marzipan. Although I used to pronounce it marzipan, which is the German pronunciation. An offering to the dead of Mexico, who are believed to visit the earth on 31st of October each year, and are given food, sweets, and cigarettes. Part of an exhibition of popular art at the Museo Anahuacalli, Anahuacalli, I think. Beautifully made. It's hard to imagine it's made out of marzipan, but very beautifully decorated and painted up. I'd love to go to Mexico one day. I love Mexican culture, and the beautiful clothing and beautiful embroideries. I've got a beautiful Mexican dress. There's a band playing at Brooklyn Standard. They play on Monday nights. Tonight, I think they start at 8. And I did consider going because I haven't been to support them on a Monday night, but I'm tired after all the epic silversmithing I did today working on that cuff, so I just posted a video that I considered a fail, but I went a bit histrionic because I was tired and I've been working on it all day. and I think I can rescue it to the point where it's still wearable and will still look okay. It won't be very professionally done, and I'll know it. Every time I look at it, it's going to grind my gears. But I've worked so hard on it all day and yesterday that I'm determined to try and complete it and set the stone and wear it in good health. Although apart from being driven like a wildebeest with some kind of hypomania lately and working myself on all my various projects and nesting around the house, which tells me big changes coming into my life. Well, the change has already started to happen with the new little birdies that arrived last Tuesday, but I sense there's more big changes coming, and I can only pray that they're positive for my most beneficial outcome. But I can tell by the way I'm frenetically trying to finish projects and get little jobs, little tasks done, that I'm wanting to have everything in perfect order and readiness for whatever the next phase of my life will be. But Ezrat Hashem, by the will of God, it's good stuff. Good, and more good. Right, the next picture, number 5. Behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him, and they were given power over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. Death on a pale horse, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, by the mystic, poet and painter William Blake. Right, those are not the changes that I feel I'm getting myself ready for, by the way, but one cannot always be certain of that. At any rate, I'll have everything in my home all tidied, all sorted and all in order, all my little projects finished, and I'll feel a success. And if Armageddon actually does happen, although I don't really subscribe to that religion, what can you do? You just have to go with the flow. Those of you who are on my Instagram would have seen me posting about this Book of Shadows or Grimoire. I actually made it a couple of years ago, and I wasn't all that happy with it because I put a binding of wire cord around the edges. That's why I drilled holes into it, and I wasn't happy with it. So I went to my friend Peter Sloan, Lynn's husband. Long-time friends of mine. I've been friends with him since I arrived in Brisbane virtually in 1988, and I asked him to cut it and so I could put hinges on it, and we've bolted it together. So last night I finished making more paper for it to cut to its perfect size, and I sat up till 12:30 last night cutting all the pieces of paper, and that was an epic task. But this is a project that I've wanted completed to my satisfaction now for a long time. So another job I've done, and Peter helped immensely because we had the bolts and we had the tap and die set to screw into the pieces of copper to hold it together. It was very clever. So I don't think he watches my YouTube videos, but to you, Peter, for helping me complete that project. Very happy about it. I sat on the floor cutting up paper like a 12-year-old last night in my inner child sense of accomplishment and glee. And then this morning got involved in working on that beautiful sterling silver cuff. And I found it's both a success and a failure, the cuff, because the heat from soldering one of the arms came off, and when I reattached it, it's too high. So I'm disappointed, but I succeeded at soldering the bezel at long last, because I bought thicker sheet and cut my own bezel out of thicker sheet. So it's a work in progress. Right, now let us continue. The supernatural is the night sky of our minds, the shadow side of our mental daylight of reason and hard fact. Like the night, it contains mystery, beauty, enchantment, and horror. It has a powerful attraction, and almost all of us, one way or another, are involved in it. We often talk about the modern age as a time of materialism, reason, technical and scientific advance, but the supernatural still plays a vitally important part in the world we live in. Many people still are religious. Many people still believe in astrology, palmistry, and a variety of superstitions. It is scarcely possible to live for very long without acquiring an interest, however reluctant, in the question of life after death. And each of our minds has its shadow side, where old terrors mingle with old truths. The supernatural surrounds us still at many different levels. In churches, synagogues, mosques, in dreams, in the antiseptic corridors of parapsychology laboratories, where experimenters test the strange powers of the mind in attempts to make contact with the dead, in children's games and nursery rhymes, in experiences induced by LSD and other drugs, in newspaper stories of witchcraft, the black art, and the desecration of churches, in reports of poltergeists and exorcisms, in faith healing, in the increasing interest in primitive religions and magic, and in Oriental religions, yoga and meditation. The last 100 years have been the most flourishing period in the history of magic and occultism in the West since the 17th century. They have also seen the rise of the modern study of comparative religion, the modern interpretation of mythology, the attempt to test objectively such phenomena as ghosts and telepathy, and the application of modern psychology to beliefs about the supernatural. These new lights in the darkness provide the basis of our approach in man, myth, and magic. Across the threshold. Supernatural is a convenient word for a huge area of human speculation about things believed to exist beyond the threshold of our ordinary day-to-day existence, our normal trudging journey from birth to death. John Wesley, the great preacher whose eloquence sent some of his hearers into ecstatic convulsions, believed that he showed his flock the demonstrative evidence of things unseen, the supernatural evidence of things invisible, not perceivable by the eyes of flesh, nor by any of our natural senses or faculties. The supernatural includes cases in which the normal order of nature appears to have been momentarily upset. Miracles, for instance, or the appearance of an otherworldly being in visible form, or levitation, the ability to rise from the ground and hover above it, unsupported. Cool. Like the famous Saint Joseph of Cupertino in the 17th century, who was always shooting up into the air to the embarrassment of himself and his ecclesiastical supporters. Superiors. So it sounds like he didn't actually have control over that ability, just randomly happen to his embarrassment. But again, kind of cool. I used to dream a lot when I was a child. My nickname on Paltalk was Psychedelic Dreamer because I'm a dreamer. And I used to dream a lot of flying. It was probably a deep-seated desire to escape my family of origin, who were bestial, and probably my child's imagination in this dream state, wishing I could fly far and away and find good, kind people capable of, if not loving me, at least treating me and giving me a proper, safe, nurturing childhood. Alas, that did not happen, which is why I'm a bit strange people there. But I'm not the only one that has survived those kind of childhood experiences, and it's not a competition, and it goes in varying degrees of complex trauma. But my parents did get one thing right with parenting, and that was the knowledge of magic and the supernatural. Gave me a good basis and grounding, something to hold on to in dark and nonsensical and dangerous times. See also the COVID epoch. If I had not had that kind of background, I too might have complied or thought everything about that was normal or okay, when really I recognised it immediately as a form of gaslighting and brainwashing, and really black magic and sorcery of the highest order, done right across the globe in every country of the world, which to my mind, here on the 19th of May 2025, still remains utterly astonishing to me that they actually pulled that off, they being the masterminds of that scheme. Right. But the supernatural also includes the operation of forces that are perfectly natural, but whose workings are not generally admitted or understood. When men long ago saw lightning, they thought it supernatural and described it to the gods. We know that they were wrong in thinking it non-natural, but right in observing its existence. Similarly, 100 years ago, those who observed the existence of the strange powers of the human mind, which we call extrasensory perception, or ESP for short, or telepathy, or clairvoyance, often thought that they had discovered something supernatural. There is some evidence now that these powers exist, and if they do, they are natural powers, and people in the past were wrong to think them anything else. But they were right in observing their existence, and it may be that in the future other peculiar phenomena may be found to stem from real and, of course, natural capacities of the human mind. On this subject, and many others, you will find a variety of views in this encyclopedia. Although we have avoided the extremes of uncritical credulity on the one hand, and of passionate scepticism, equally unconnected with the evidence, on the other. We have not set out to convert you to or from anything, but to explain the structures of ideas which men have built in the past and which they continue to build now. You must decide for yourself where truth and value lie. At last it is possible to bring discussion of the supernatural out of the dark, a privilege denied even to our parents. Bear in mind, when were these books published? I bought them as a 15-year-old girl. So the copyright is 1970. So, and I bought them. I was 5 in 1970. So, 1980 I would have bought them. Yes, that's right. I was 15 in 1980. Had to do my maths. But anyway, here's a series of pictures again, and I'll show them to you, and I'll read the blurb attached to each one. There's a very scary demon-looking face. Underneath it says, "The lady is for burning. Witches are associated with demons, night, sensuality, and evil. They still horrify and delight the imagination, and they still exist. Although I don't agree that we're all evil people of Earth. But it doesn't behoove one to try and fuck with us or do us harm. Then you see all kinds of wrath enacted on, but most of us even try and rein that in, because ultimately, people are going to do horrible things to women because they think we're alone and isolated and crazy and lonely and nobody loves us, so we're a perfect target. Big mistake, mofos. Just saying, just a little reminder there for those of you who thought they would do their magic against the Tanya. You have no idea of my ancestry and who you actually invoke when you try to mess with me when I came in clean and clear. Babies. But I'm not really all that angry about it now. Just realise it's just all part of the game of life, is it not? And when you come in with a clean and clear conscience and you come with love, you're actually kind of untouchable, by the way. But they'll find that out. They'll find that out in due course, that I was actually honourable, even though I get a little bit silly at times. Bottom line, I remained honourable right till the end of that friendship, so my conscience is clear. Right, that picture was of the demon. Asmodeus was originally the Persian fiend of the wounding spear, a storm spirit and personification of rage. Later he developed into a supernatural force of lechery. He is represented as having 3 heads, those of a bull, a man, and a ram. We'll just have another quick look at that because I didn't quite figure that out when I was looking at it. Those were his 3 heads. And I saw the man, I saw the ram, I saw the bull, but I didn't realise that that's his 3 heads. And what is he sitting on? Sitting on it looks like he's sitting on a lion. Well, anyway. In Paris in 1679, Madame de Montespan, mistress of Louis XIV, sacrificed children to Asmodeus to secure her hold on the king's affections by black magic. This is totally unacceptable practices, people of Earth. Even amongst witches, it's not cool to practice those kind of dark arts. You do so at the risk of your very soul. There's no coming back from that, by the way. None. No redemption for you, mofos. From Colin de Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal, 1863. Wow. Is a man's affections worth sacrificing innocent children for anyway? Men's affections that we all know are fickle and changeable like the wind. I mean, you almost have to laugh. Except for children that lost their lives to that crazy bitch, are we right? That's not funny. That's not cool. Right. Number 2. St. Anthony of Egypt was a 3rd century Christian ascetic who withdrew from the world and was plagued by bizarre and nightmare visions, which included multitudes of demons and frightening animal forms. The Temptation of St. Anthony, an engraving by Martin Schongauer. He is being almost feasted on by all kinds of demons. I'm allergic to these books because they're so old and there'll be dust mites hidden amongst the pages, no doubt. Not that I can see them, but my nose knows. The schnoz knows, people of Earth. The schnozzy knows. Right, number 3. The Young Sorceress, a painting by A. Wiertz in which the aspiring sorceress, blindfolded, bestrides a broomstick surrounded by malevolent figures. It has been suggested that witches originally danced with broomsticks between their legs as a phallic rite. They were said to fly on hobby horses, forked sticks, eggshells, bunches of straw and shovels. Long before the broomstick, sometimes smeared with flying ointment from the fat of an unbaptized child, was associated with them. And you just need to sigh at a lot of that, because a lot of those ideas about witches come from, medieval Christian sects that were only too happy to burn women at the stakes for just delivering babies or handing you a healing herb. So these assumptions that everything was to do with, human or animal sacrifices, just pure assumptions as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying that didn't go on. I'm just saying that it got beefed up and glamorised and made into hysterical headlines like tabloid newspapers used to do during my childhood. Those, in other words, an element of truth would get distorted into something completely ridiculous, like Chinese whispers. Right, number 4. Recent photograph of modern witches performing their rites. Okay, now it is true that some witches and some covenants perform sky-clad or naked, as is shown here. Right, where were we? Right, we'll continue reading, people of Earth. The supernatural world. The world of the supernatural includes the great living religions alongside an astonishing variety of peculiar cults and groups, from the holy rollers and snake-handling sects of the United States to the new prophetic cults in Africa and the modern cargo cults of the Pacific. It ranges from some of the noblest expressions of the human mind in the lives and writings of mystics and the founders of religions to some of the ignoblest in the black mass or the smelling out of witches or the myths of race. It varies in importance from matters like survival after death and the existence of the soul to superstitions which, at least at first sight, are very trivial, from themes like fate, sin, sacrifice, to tea leaf reading, Ouija boards, and lucky numbers. Varying degrees of innocuity depending on the practitioner and their intention, I might add. The supernatural even has room for humour, usually unintentional, as in the spell found in 1865 in the house of a magician called John Rhodes, who had written it for one of his customers. I adjure and command you, ye strong and mighty and most powerful spirits, who are rulers of this day and hour, that ye obey me in this my cause, by placing my husband in his former situation under the Trent Brewery Company. Wanted his job back at the brewery. Practical, very practical. If you think that magic will help you get your job back, certainly can't hurt. Done with the right intentions, with harm to none, competition with none, so it can and will be done, unless you impede on the free will of another human being or cause them distress or harm. Just say. In this variety and contrast, The supernatural mirrors and illuminates the mind of man. Man, myth and magic runs in alphabetical order, and you will find the psychology of conversion a subject of fundamental human importance, followed immediately by the convulsionaries who threw hysterical fits in the 18th century. Wagner is cheek by jowl with voodoo. Sergeant Bertrand, the French werewolf, is next door to Annie Besant, a leading theosophist. And the old theme of the evilness of woman is followed by the law of the woodpecker. You will find dance and the devil, the cross, the circle and the serpent, ghosts, masks, trees, witches, and 1,000 other things which play a part in the supernatural world. There is music in the world of the supernatural, from primitive drumming and dancing to the splendours of masses and requiems. There is art, from the cave paintings and the lumpy obese Venuses of prehistoric men, through the works of a Blake, a Bosch, a Botticelli, to the nightmare drawings of Austin Spare and the paintings of modern surrealists. There is a treasure of symbolism, from the rich religious and magical ideas associated with numbers, letters, architecture, and the moon and the sun, to the myths and folk beliefs connected with the horse or the dog or the cat, the wren or the raven, the salmon or the spider. Everything is connected, people are there. Quantum entanglement, spooky action at a distance. It's all been observed by physicists, by the way. Shadows in the mind. It has only recently begun to be recognised that myths, rituals, folklore and magic are not a tangled mass of trivial mumbo-jumbo, but a vital part of the human experience and a vital sector of the study of man. What men have thought all over the world and all through history about the supernatural is important not only for what it may tell us about the mysteries of life and death, but for what it tells us about human beings. I want to scream and say not just men, but women as well, humankind, all of humanity, across all genders. Yes, I'm not woke, but that's one thing I'm very adamant about. I have transgender members of my family, and I'm well aware that you can be twin spirit, two-spirit person, and there's nothing actually wrong with that. So I do not like the level of discrimination and viciousness I see in other channels regarding, transsexuality or anyone else's sexuality. What you do with your genitals or don't do with your genitals, as the case may be, is nobody's business but yours ultimately. So I don't suffer those kind of falls lightly. I find them irritating beyond belief. Cannot stand bigots or ignorant people. I might be civil to them because in polite society or in their companionship for however long I have to endure that, but I won't endure it for very long, trust me on that. Eventually I will just schnuppy and remove myself from that personage. Right, same goes for racists and bigots of all kinds. Can't abide it. Just can't. It's probably because I'm a witch and a shaman, a Jew, and the other. I've lived as the other all my life, even since an early infancy, people of Earth. So I can't abide it. Can't abide people who discriminate against you. What? Because they're arrogant or greedy or selfish or spoilt or entitled or just, uneducated or unethical. Can't abide it. Can't abide those types. So if you come to my channel and you're wanting to learn about magic, rule number 1, and harm ye none, do what thou willest, or as in Thelema, Aleister Crowley used to say, love is the law, love under will. But personally, I just don't believe in people being cruel for no other reason than they can. It's just the worst form of evil and debasement, actually. Right, where were we? Beyond the interest in the supernatural of which we are conscious in ourselves or in others, there are all kinds of magical ideas which are deeply embedded in our minds, though we are not always aware of them. It's true, handed down through our culture. One of the oldest and most important components of magic is the principle of mimicry. To injure an enemy, you make a doll of wax or clay or rags which resembles the enemy as closely as you can manage. If it doesn't look much we have company. If it doesn't look much like him, you can christen it with his name to make sure you hit the right target. You torture and destroy the doll, you burn it or stick pins through it or wring its neck in the belief that your enemy will suffer the same agonies in reality. By imitating an event, you hope to make it happen. This is called sympathetic magic. It's also commonly practiced in voodoo. However, I don't recommend you trying that lightly, people of Earth. Again, it's a question of consequences. Attacking the right person for the right reasons at the right time to the right degree comes into play and can rebound on you to the power of 10. It can affect your progeny for 7 generations. Just a little reminder to those that thought they could cause me magical harm. Very, very silly indeed that was. Very, very foolish and silly indeed. And to what end, really? What was the aim of that? You've achieved nothing, ultimately, but seeding of your own soul. And Mama T can't help you with that, which you give away willingly out of greed or envy or malice. It's not easy to reclaim. Right, let me continue reading. This notion may seem to be one which we sensible moderns have outgrown, but if you keep a watchful eye on yourself, you may discover that you are not free of it. If you are being driven too fast in a car, you may find yourself pressing your foot down, hard down, on an imaginary brake on the floor of the car. On the surface of your mind, you know perfectly well that doing this will not affect the driver, but deeper down is the old magical principle of mimicry. It gets hot again. It gets hot, it gets cold, it gets hot, it gets cold. Right, let's just see what it does now. You are imitating what the driver ought to be doing so as to make him do it. Never before has the full range of this fascinating subject been assembled in a single work of reference. All the facets of man's experience of the supernatural seen together as a whole. I'll just finish off reading that piece of prose. Sorry, it's jumping everywhere. It's a bit distracting. It's hard for me to read it to you. Or again, we were talking about putting a imaginary foot down on the imaginary brake. A real foot down on the imaginary brake, I mean. Or again, if you are watching a race and you want your favourite to win, do you find yourself tensing and straining every limb? You are imitating the effect you want your runner to make in the magical hope of helping him on. Indeed. If you recognise this kind of behaviour in yourself, there are many varieties of it. The simplest perhaps being the reaction to danger of closing your eyes to make it go away. You will have a more sympathetic understanding of the unpleasing cure for warts once common in the Kentucky backwoods, which consisted of pricking the warts with a pin, smearing the blood on kernels of corn, as many kernels as there are warts, and feeding the corn to a red rooster, in the belief that the warts would be magically transferred to the rooster. Or the old witch weapon of the string of 9 knots, tied with concentrated hatred against an enemy and hidden close to him, which strangled him slowly to death unless it could be found and untied in time. The magic of names. The magical use of names is rooted in many civilized people's minds today, as it was in ancient and primitive societies. In magic, the name of a thing is the thing. The name cat is not merely a term of reference for a furry and charming creature with pointed ears and 4 legs, a tail and disquieting eyes. The name contains in itself the essence of the animal's being, the quality which makes it what it is, and not something else. After all, a primitive magician might say, if it was not called cat, but dog, it would not be itself, but something different. The same principle applies to God, spirits, and human beings. In some primitive societies, a man's real name is kept secret because if it becomes known to a hostile magician, he has power over the man and can destroy him. The man himself may not know his own real name, so secret is it, and he goes by another name, a cover name, a name which is not really him. In the ancient world, to injure someone you hated, you could write down his name and a curse on a bit of lead or pottery and bury it. People did so with some frequency, and the curses have been dug up by archaeologists. As the lead grows cold, so grow he cold, or I put quartan fever on Aristion to the death. Friendly. Wonder what Aristion did to that person. Maybe he deserved it. Maybe he didn't. We weren't there at the time, so We can't judge, can we? This again seems a far cry from us, for the principle survives among the many modern parents who take trouble over choosing a name for a child because they have at the back of their minds the feeling that the name chosen will affect the child's character. To name a boy Cedric, for instance, seems to many people at the moment to be running a serious risk of stamping a weak and weedy personality on the unfortunate infant. And if we call him James or Henry, won't he grow up to be like some nasty James or Henry that we know? It is a magical idea, deep in the mind, and a widespread one. People who join a cult or religious orders very often take new names to show that they are starting a new life as new people. For instance, the occult name of the black magician Aleister Crowley was Perdurabo, I will endure. The magic of names is also partly responsible for the feeling, still held by many, that someone who tries to get onto first name terms with you too quickly is invading your privacy. By using your own personal name, he is trying to grasp the real you too soon. Yes, depending on my mood, I don't like to share my name straight away with strangers either. Sometimes I do, but if I feel some kind of hesitancy, so what do you want to know my name for? Can't even pronounce it right half the time anyway. Seriously, make an effort, people. When you learn someone's name, make an effort to pronounce it correctly, because that name is their soul signature, their own personal brand of magic. And anyway, shake it off, like a British nanny. Not funny. Sorry, that's not funny. Just 90s culture somehow festered in my brain. But anyway, too soon. It's always too soon for that, people. Remember that. Always too soon. Right, before I continue with the next chapter, I want to show you the photographs and cartoons and paintings and drawings. So number 1, the hero triumphs. The hero defeating monstrous evil powers is a favourite theme of mythology, ancient and modern. Number 1, Cerberus, the three-headed dog, who guarded the entrance to the underworld in Greek mythology. I'm very fond of Greek mythology. I studied it even in classical studies as a young girl at high school, Wellington Girls College. I started studying Greek mythology when I was 16. He was tamed by Hercules, shown holding a club on this Greek vase of the 6th century BC. Let me have a look here. We've got Cerberus and Hercules with the club. I don't see who the other personage is. Someone obviously about to enter the underworld. Two, the myth of the hero continues to absorb men. That should read people, because the world contains both men and women. It's very gender biased, this book, but it was written in 1970, so we'll forgive their archaic verbologies. As it has always been, Superman. don't know why anyone wants to wear their underpants on the outside. I still don't really quite get that. Too much kryptonite in the water. Just saying. The Japanese hero Sakata no Kintoki killing a giant spider. Oh, is that what he's got his foot on? That's a bit terrifying, isn't it? Are you an arachnophobe? You can see a giant spider be killed? It's a beautiful spider. Although, if I saw a spider that big, I'd probably be inclined to kind of kill it too, because get it before it gets me, am I right? I've learnt to love spiders and snakes. Maybe not love, but have a healthy respect for them, just say. I no longer try to kill everything I see. When it comes to spiders, I killed so many spiders when I first came to Australia because I had this phobia that they were deadly and were going to kill me and my kids. And no, it was cruel and unnecessary. So I apologise to all the thousands of redback spiders I killed first 10 years of living here. And now I'm a real Australian because I'm over it now. I just see one and go, well, if it's not likely to be sat on or accidentally brushed against or touched, it can live. And I just let go, let God. Harmonic resonance. It's actually been my greatest empowerment, not living in fear of everything like I did when I first came here. There are some things that are quite worth being fearful of though. Fake friends and false people being the most dangerous of them all. Far more dangerous than any redback spider, I'm telling you that much. But anyway, moving on is not the same thing as giving up, people. Number 4, a Christian hero myth, St. George and the Dragon by Uccello. Oh, excuse me. Right, let me continue on. How long does this go for? Because I've got to know where to break it up. Getting rather tired, people. It's been a busy couple of days. I guess I'll read until I can't bear reading anymore, and then we're 58 minutes in, so perhaps another hour. Fate and the future. Another set of supernatural notions survives in our attitudes to fate in the future. The powerful impulse not to tempt fate comes up from some dark well in the mind below the level of reason. People constantly refrain from saying, or are horrified if they do say, that they have done well in some test, that the future looks bright, that all will go well, because they are frightened of an unseen power that will punish their presumption. We sometimes mix this up with modesty and the desire not to seem conceited, fails to explain the type of guilty horror that immediately afflicts many of us when fate is tempted. You know, you are allowed good things to happen to you, people of Earth. That includes me, the Tanya, Mama T. We're actually allowed to have good and wonderful and beautiful things happen to and for us, and to be surrounded by people who are good for us and cheer us on, motivate and encourage us, and have our backs, our fronts and our sides. It's actually allowed. I don't think that's tempting fate. I think that's just claiming your confidence and your power back and being full of hope and aspiration and feeling deserving and having a little bit of hubris and pride at times. Beware of those that want to tear that away from you like rabid fucking dogs, by the way. Especially some of you like me who've survived much to get to this moment in time. In my case, 16 near deaths. You deserve to prosper and have true love, better health, happiness, creativity, peace, comfort and ease. We deserve that. It's not tempting the gods too much. But here they write. And even modesty implies the same principle at the root. Not merely the wish to avoid offending other people, but the idea of self-effacement in the sense of not attracting the attention of the gods, the fates, the unkind powers that rule men's destinies. No, I don't completely agree with that. The gods want you to stand in your own power, in your own glorious self-determination. They want you to be the highest and greatest version of yourself. There's people out there that will rip you to shreds just because you exist. No other reason. Don't feed into that. The gods choose us and wish us well, unless you do the wrong thing by the gods, dishonour them in some way, but that's a kettle of a different fish, people of Earth. The idea of destiny, that the course of a man's life is marked out by forces which are beyond the threshold of the ordinary everyday world, comes out in the tendency to fatalism, which a good many of us show, especially at moments of crisis, the feeling that it's out of my hands, I shall do my best, but what will be will be. Fatalism can be put down to an obvious psychological root as a way of avoiding responsibility, escaping from the burden of a decision. But in many people it is not in fact used as an escape, and it seems to spring from something much deeper, from the old belief in a mysterious power controlling human life. This belief seems to well up in people under stress, who at other times are sceptical about the supernatural and see no convincing evidence for the existence of fate at all. The same buried belief perhaps lies behind the intense interest which almost everyone takes in having his fortune told, however loudly he tells himself and everyone else that he knows it is all a nonsense. People who do not think it nonsense visit astrologers and clairvoyants in droves, and the manufacture of lucky charms is a sizable industry. Right, before we continue reading, I'll show you the pictures. We long to know the future and search for it in the stars in the hand, in cards and numbers. The Hanged Man, a card from the tarot pack still used in fortune telling. There he is. Astrological diagram showing the parts of the body which each zodiac sign is supposed to affect. 3. Testing the reality of extrasensory perception. The subject tries to forecast the fall of these cards. I used to do that as a little girl with my friend Lynn Robertson. It's amazing how intuitive we both were even as young children. Although she's 4 years older than me, but Very talented young woman she was, very talented indeed. But her mother was gifted. Her mother came from Norwegian, both her parents were Norwegian, so Viking Norse background. Here's a picture of the pattern of the future in the human hand from Jean Boulot's Oeuvre. Oeuvre means eggs, 1649. The wheel is a symbol of inevitable fate. Here an instrument of torture on which the proud are broken in hell. As if you haven't been broken in this life enough, some of us are destined to be broken in hell as well. The same wheel in a different disguise as a way of trying your luck. I used to have one of those at the Treasury Casino. I think I played it once or twice, but I'm not fond of gambling because I was raised by gamblers and paedophiles and weak, pathetic, spiteful men, and it put me off a lot of things, and gambling fortunately was one of them. Anyway, every time you cross your fingers, say a prayer or read your stars in the paper, you express your surviving belief in the supernatural. This is a unique opportunity to make up your own mind on this vital area of human existence. Right, we'll carry on. The burning galley. Not only do magical ideas survive in our minds, but they seem to be needed. Quite a number of ceremonies and rituals have been either revived or invented in the last 100 years. There's a lot we've revived and reinvented in 100 years. We've flown to the moon, to Mars. Well, not humans, but we've sent probes to Mars. We've studied the inner recesses of the human mind, psychology and psychiatry. Some improvements to that in the last 100 years, some not. Just modern forms of torture. Need we say more? Psychotropic medication is not for the non-indeed, just saying. But I tried it for 15 years to no avail, so I know what I'm speaking of in that degree. What else have we done in the last 100 years? We invented cars and airplanes and spaceships. We've got a long way to go though. The evolution of the human species has a long, long way to go. There's already 8 views on my video about my silversmithing shenanigans and frustrations and catastrophization. I share my journey quite authentically and wholeheartedly and honestly because I want people to see that if you're resilient and stubborn and determined and you just keep getting up after every failure and try again, eventually you succeed at something, people of Earth. Might not be the cuff I envisaged, which was going to be a much more perfect cuff, but it will still be wearable art and I'll still be happy with it, provided I don't ruin it completely tomorrow when I try and solder the other arm down. Oh dear goddess. Anyway, when I say dear goddess, I'm praying to the divine feminine principle of God, by the way, not some dark evil entity, although depending on the divine feminine and her mood that week, it could be a bit like that. But when I pray to the goddess, I'm praying to Creator in his or her feminine aspect of bringing forth projects of creativity, since I can't give birth anymore, obviously, because I'm an old lady and I don't have a womb and don't have grandchildren, so I give birth to my own jewellery projects or other art pieces. So, yes, the goddess. A good example is the spectacular fire ceremony, which involves most of the population of Lerwick in the Shetlands in late January each year. About 7 in the evening, in cold and pitch dark, 500 or 600 geysers, dancers in grotesque and eerie costumes, light torches and parade through the town, singing and pulling along a replica of a Viking war galley with the head of a dragon at its high prow. That would be fascinating to see. The long ship is hauled in procession to an open space, and the marchers surround it, several ranks deep. At a signal, they hurl their blazing torches like a rain of shooting stars into the air and down onto the galley, which catches fire and burns fiercely until the dragon's head bows to the ground and the timbers splinter and char away. Through the rest of the night, the geysers, spelt G-U-I-S-E-R, as in they're wearing disguises, go from place to place dancing, and a sizable percentage of the town's population gets itself genially drunk. The interesting thing about this ceremony is that its dramatic central feature is not a survival of an ancient pagan rite, but a modern invention. The wearing of sinister costumes, the dancing and drinking are genuinely old customs, but the burning of the galley goes back only to the late 1880s. Down to 1889, the geysers carried blazing tar barrels around the town, a survival of a pagan fire festival which celebrated the freeing of the sun from the chains of winter. Men made light and heat on earth to revive the sun and to make it give out increasing heat and light in the sky. In 1889, the tar barrel set the Shetland stage and the Viking galley made its first entry. Other similarly youthful rituals could be cited, among them a curious American practice called the New Year's Shoot, found in some areas of North Carolina, originated less than 200 years ago by German-born settlers and carried on by their descendants. In it, men gather at midnight on 31st of December, carrying antique guns, and from then until 6 a.m. they visit each house of the area, fire a volley, and greet the householders with a rhymed ceremonial speech delivered by the speech crier. It begins, "Good morning to you, sir. We wish you a happy new year. Great health, long life, which God may bestow, so long as you stay here below." For all its relative modernity, this rite has clear affinities with ancient, noisy pagan ceremonies for driving away evil spirits and invoking fertility and prosperity. But, like the Shetland fire ceremony, it has grown into a genuine folk institution. It effectively expresses a vague but powerful central idea in the minds of those who take part in it. In the case of the Shetland ceremony, perhaps whoever devised it saw the force of adding a ritual patterned on ship burial, which involved the liberation of the spirit from the body at death, with songs about the defeat of tyrants, to the relics of a ceremony which saluted the liberation of the sun from the tyrant grip of winter, which is soon coming here in Brisbane, Australia. It's May, 19th of May, starting to get cold now. And technically it's still only autumn, but it gets cold when it wants to get cold, does it not? We're fortunate here in Brisbane, Australia, that the winters really only last 3 months. Quite short-lived. Quite short-lived. Only really August is the most cold, sometimes July. Last year July was very cold. But August is infamous for the bitter cold westerly winds. Right, where were we? The ship burning reminds the Shetlanders of their Viking ancestry, and it is a declaration of the Shetland Norse nationalist and separatist feeling that has grown steadily stronger all through the century. Magic, myth and poetry. Why are magical ideas still rooted in our minds? We have thrown off many of the attitudes of the past. Why not let these? Because magical thinking is natural to the human mind, which is why rational thinking is generally agreed to be difficult, and why there is a strong human sense that rational thinking is not enough. You need both hemispheres of your brain in perfect harmonic resonance, people of Earth. Sometimes it's hard to get the equilibrium. Even for the mamatea, I can get a bit too magical at times. At other times I can get a bit too rational, stubborn, kind of intransigent too. Anyway, the gods have a way of kicking us up our tuchus and setting us back on our path and shaking us off and shaking us down and starting again, people of Earth. Always continuing on with the journey, starting again. Behind magic and at the roots of mythology and religion is a kind of thinking which is not random and which has its own curious logic, but it is not rationalist logic. It works through analogies, allegories, symbols, which means making connections between things which outwardly and rationally are not connected. The doll and the enemy, the tar barrels and the sun. It looks to man's deep inner wells of inspiration, imagination, insight, instinct, as the supreme past truth. Magical thinking, in fact, is poetic thinking. In this light, it is not surprising that myth and legend have been largely the creation of poets, and that the importance of myths and legends for us is their poetic appeal. The great classical myths, for instance, or the story of Adam and Eve in Eden, are true stories to us, not because we think they ever happened, but because, like poetry, they contain truth about human beings and human life, truth which cannot be fully translated into plain statement. This is the source of our contemporary fascination with the theme of the killing of the divine king, which lies behind some of the myths we have inherited and which has inspired several outstanding poetic modern novels. It is the source of the great psychologist C.G. Jung's preoccupation with the symbolism of alchemy and mythology. And the myth of the hero continues to absorb men, as it always has. Right, I'll just show you the pictures. Number 1 is a Japanese Buddhist god named Jizo, who protects children and those who die young. Where were you when I needed you, Jizo? Well, you didn't protect me from Gisela and her henchmen, but never mind. Perhaps if I lived in Japan, you might have. So we won't hold it against her, will we? We'll just be grateful for our merest survival of psychedelic dreamer size. Yes, I do bear a grudge against those that harm innocent children and animals, by the way. Right, number 2. Religious dances from a Cambodian temple. Number 3. West Indian voodoo dancer. Oh, for a moment I was trying to figure out which one. That can't be right. It's the one above. And beside it is a snake handling groups amongst the oddest of modern American religious sects. The snake is touched to the face. Deaths are comparatively few, which says more about the snake than about the people in that sect, in my opinion. Snakes are actually very, very kind and tolerant people. Here's the voodoo dancer. That's not really clear there. Just looks like a flame, doesn't it? There's your snake handler. Right. Down below, 5. Mexican picture writing, which shows the new fire ceremony, a temple and a palace. I should have probably gone to that mariachi band today, did some dancing, done me the power of good, but I really am tired. Another Monday, another. One day, one day, one day. All the days will come until there are no more days, and it is what it is, people of Earth. But I would like to go. I would like to go. Number 6. Early example of Christian religious drama, The Martyrdom of Saint Apollinaire by J. Fouquet. Right, you don't get much more drama than early Christian religious drama. But trying to figure out what's happening there. They've got a body strapped to a pallet, and I don't know what's going on there actually. It's all very disturbing to my eye. Right, it's a woman strapped to what looks like a door. And we all know what's about to happen to her if that's the case. They've decided she's a witch. And he's pulling on her long red hair, probably about to cut it off as some kind of magical punishment against a witch, and yes, those kinds of things really did happen, people of Earth, and probably would happen again if you allowed the population to lose its sense of decorum and rationality. Just saying. Got a taste of that when the cyclone was coming, and my mad arsehole neighbour 3 doors down decided to strap his trailer directly across from my house to the Energix electricity pole, hoping that when the winds hit, it would fly into my house and not his own. You know, the old lady who lives alone, that's a witch, is the ultimate sacrifice, first to be targeted. Didn't think for one moment in his wildest nightmares that I'd come out and confront him about it and fight him about it and call Energix and have it removed. Dickhead. But this is a sign to me that, you know, the ancient hatreds of the witch and the female are still very, very, very up and current, especially in a climate emergency like a cyclone. See very quickly who's the first to be sacrificed. And wow, don't fuck with the Tanya. I'm glad I reported it anyway, because that thing could have flown into any of the other neighbours' homes and potentially killed their babies and young children. I'm just surprised that not one of those women thought to say, excuse me, you're putting our children's lives at risk. Not one of them thought about it. Only old Mama T, who thinks about things and potential outcomes. To be fair, initially worry about my own safety, but later on I realised that thing could have presented a danger to any of the homes on the crossroads here, wherever the winds blew. We weren't to know that Cyclone Alfred was a bit of a fizzle, were we? We were whipped up into absolute hysteria by the media, and when it got here it was pretty much a non-event. Fortunately for us here in Brisbane, but other parts got completely smashed and hammered. Right, now let me continue. The secrets of superstition. I suggested earlier that superstitions are trivial things, at least at first sight. If you try to explain them, you find yourself in areas which are the reverse of trivial, and they can be explained, and many of them can, because idiotic as they may look, they are not random and senseless, but the products of poetic logic. For example, why is the number 3 supposed to be lucky? If you set out to find the answer, you will come across a host of odd but minor matters, like the fact that in German folklore, a werewolf must be stabbed 3 times in the brows to reveal the real person behind the hair and claws. Never heard that one before, have you? Dear goddess. 3 times in the brows. Right, okay. Or the custom in the Spanish royal family of calling a dead king 3 times by name before burying him. But before long you will come to the Christian Trinity, a doctrine of the highest significance for multitudes of human beings. You must then consider, why a Trinity? Why 3 divine persons instead of some other number of persons? Why did the number 3, which the Pythagoreans considered the perfect number because it had all the necessary equipment, a beginning, a middle, and an end, become in Christian theory a number which is perfect because it does not have a beginning or an end? you will be led on to trinities and other religions, to the first discovery of the musical intervals, to the fact that some ancient peoples used 3 to mean any number greater than 2, to the erotic symbolism of 3 as the number of the male genitals. Isn't it meat and 2 spuds? I don't know. Anyway. Don't know anything about that. Shh. I'm a lady, you know. Sometimes I'm a lady when I choose to be. Anyway, where were we? Got lost at meat and 2 spuds. Right, that's right. As the number of male genitals, which is the reason for its frequent appearance in love charms. I'd be concerned about bringing 3 into a love charm, because then you're bringing a third person into the love affair, just saying. Do you want to share your lover with someone else? Yeah. Yes, you know, you're polyamorous then. Yay! But you know, I'm talking about those of the one lover at a time, serial monogamous bent. Anyway, I digress. All these things have contributed to the symbolic meaning of 3 through a chain of ideas running roughly from all things to the Godhead, the best, and ultimately the most fortunate. The interest of this type of inquiry is not limited to the fascination, though it is a powerful one, of delving into the odd and mysterious, of conjecturing what song the siren sang, or what name Achilles assumed when he hid himself among the women. Even from so unpromising a starting point as a minor superstition, the inquiry takes you deep into the well springs of the human mind, now as in the past. That is what a study of man and the supernatural is about, and that is why it matters. Indeed. Right, here we go, and it's all very boring. I won't bother reading all that to you, but that's their contributing board of members. You know, back in 1970, and some probably died since then, and some probably still kicking on, although probably now looking elderly and what have you. So these are all the experts. 200 expert authors from all over the world. It does sound indeed very impressive. Alright, I won't read the blurbs attached to them all because I don't want to bore you, but they deserve to be named. They do. Knowledge is power, people of Earth. Names are powerful too. The editor, as mentioned before, is Richard Cavendish, a leading authority on magic and witchcraft. Special consultants is Reverend S.G.F. Brandon, Catherine Briggs, William Gaunt, Douglas Hill, Francis Huxley. C.A. Berland, this is the can't pronounce English, editorial board. C.A. Berland, Glyn Daniel, E.R. Dodds, Mircea Eliade, William Sargent, John Simmons, R.J. Sveblovsky, and R.C. Zayner. Right, we've said their names, all very important men. Notice not a woman amongst them, which it is what it is. And if they thought to invite any woman to their board, probably not, because the misogyny has already been noticed by me. And let us continue on. Right. We'll just do this one more chapter, which is the Aberdeen Witches. But first I want to read this little blurb here. Abbots Bromley, town in Staffordshire, England, scene of the annual Horn Dance in September. No one knows how old the dance is, but its closest parallels are the ritual dances of primitive societies reaching back to the Stone Age. Someone dancing with what looks like stag horns. Here we have a picture of, not sure quite what. It's from an illuminated manuscript, and looks like it may be the letter A, or it could be, I think it's meant to be an A, it could be an H though. But anyway, all very fascinating. All very fascinating. This picture here, the European obsession with witchcraft raged for about 300 years. In Germany, as in Scotland and France, it was a custom to strangle or hang the witches before burning them to ashes. Burning 3 witches at Danneberg, Germany in 1555. In the picture above, part of the accounts of money spent on the execution of 4 witches. These include items for coal, peat, tar barrels, the stake, rope, and the fee of the executioner. I can't even read that, to be honest. But obviously someone could. That's how they know what they were transacting there. Right, below. Witches were frequently accused of paying bestial and revolting homage to the devil by kissing his backside. From Guazzo's Compendium Maleficarum, 17th century. We still say that to this day, don't we, as an insult to someone. You can just go and kiss my ass. It's kissing of the backside. I guess the ultimate in submission. Anyway, I shouldn't laugh because it's kind of not funny, but Mama T says, she sees a funny side behind some of these darker aspects of humanity at times. It's my sense of humour that helped me survive not 1 but 3 strangulation attempts and various other ignominies we won't go into for the purposes of this video. After the executions of the Aberdeen witches in 1597, it was said that the black reek and stench of the burnings hung over the town for weeks. Just want you to think about that. They had to live with the consequences of their actions for weeks after, which, because they were Christian, they thought was righteous, by the way. I want you to think about that too. What kind of people that religion fomented and fostered. Foul it was. It's not to say all Christians are foul. I'm just saying the practices were beyond, including the endemic pedophilia and the colonisation of Indigenous peoples across the world and the tortures they were subjected to in the name of that entity and that religion. It does make you question God, where was God in all of that? Sometimes it does make you ask those salient questions. The victims were strangled to death before their bodies were burned. A small mercy, I suppose. Many innocent people were undoubtedly accused, but there is some evidence for the existence of a real witch organisation in northeast Scotland. Aberdeen witches. In the archives of the city of Aberdeen is a remarkable collection of documents, records of the Dean of Guild, 1596 to 1597, which give details of the proceedings against many persons accused of the detestable practice of witchcraft and sorcery. Marginal notes indicate that the documents were those used in court, most of them consisting of details or charges against the accused. My ear is burning all of a sudden, just right inside here. Isn't that random? It's probably just blood pressure or something. It's been a long day, people. A long and productive day. I sorted down a bezel, but I messed up the arm of the cuff. Oh, swings and roundabouts. Anyway. The collection of evidence against those suspected of witchcraft and sorcery was made by the ministers and elders of the Reformed Church in the various parishes. Unhappily, suspects could be named by anyone, a feature that afforded full scope to the malicious, and many harmless old people were named. Suspects were summoned before the Kirk sessions for examination, and those considered guilty were remanded to Aberdeen assizes or assizes. I've decided what I'm going to do. I nearly bought it when I ordered the last two things from Lion Punch Forge. It's a wonderful man that owns that company. Very kind man. To you, Chris Anderson. But I hesitated, and I wish I hadn't now, because I'm still going to need to buy it. I hesitated to buy a tool that he made for soldering cuffs, which would have really prevented that travesty that I did today by the gods. So I'm going to have to spend the money on that and try and improve on my cuff making, won't I? I want to buy a pair of his wonderful titanium tweezers as well. So those will be my next two purchases. I think that will help enhance my silversmithing quite dramatically, actually. But anyway, I didn't buy the mandrel for soldering cuffs. And, well, it's a work in progress, people of Earth. Like everything, a work in progress. Right, a little bit of a digress there, but I'm just pondering if it would have actually made much difference, or if I still would have made a hash of it. Nah, I know I'm improving. Just have to be patient with myself. Even when allowance is made for the ignorance and superstition of the time, it is difficult to excuse the ministers of the gospel, educated men, indeed, whose evidence was the means of sending many innocent people to a horrible end. Wasn't very Christian of them, was it? More demonic than Christian. That's why I don't trust any religious entities anymore across the board. Not safe with any of them. Got to row your own canoe. Excuse the cultural appropriation. You've got to row your own canoe or Viking boat and be in service to your own gods and build a relationship with them, be in harmonic resonance with our earth and trust no human mortal being. They can be quickly compromised for any agenda that takes their fancy. So the COVID epoch, which was a modern form of depopulation, just saying. Used to be the burning times, now it's the jabbing times. I'm not joking either, and it's not fucking funny. It will never be funny what's been done to my human species in the name of science. Seriously, fuck off. Anyway, where were we? Digressing. Right. However, some of the evidence suggests that there existed a definite organisation practising the black art in northeast Scotland, the group known to history as the Aberdeen Witches. Two main points can be established concerning the group. First, the practice of witchcraft was a confidential cult, almost a family concern, with secrets handed down from generation to generation. Maybe you're born with it, maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's the goddess, maybe it's the god, maybe it's just a form of madness that gets transmitted down in the intergenerational trauma, or maybe, just maybe, it's a bona fide, real magical gift handed down in the DNA as well. Just not something to fear, but something to comprehend and manage within the realms of your own body, mind and spirit and soul complex. And if you can't manage it, you can't live with it, denial's not a long river in Egypt, it won't do you any bloody good. So the more you read and study these kind of books, the more you'll make peace with it, and gain some kind of gnosis and understanding, and evolve as a human being, hopefully, and rest your own powers and reclaim your powers from those who would subvert you. See also COVID epoch. It's just one fine example, just saying. Don't have to agree with me on that. It's only my opinion, but I'm sticking to it till the day I eventually shuffle off this mortal coil. It is a great travesty to interfere in someone's spiritual, physical, mental, emotional body autonomy. Violation. The highest violation there is actually to take away someone's choices over what happens to their own body. Hippocrates wrote about it. Physician, heal thyself. Number 1, and what was the other one? I can't remember. Hippocrates. A lot of doctors very quickly threw that one out with the bath water. Anyway, something about do no harm to the patient and the gods of your healing ministrations. First, do no harm, I think it says. First, do no harm. Wow. Wow. That's all I've got to say about that. Wow. Like Samantha in the TV show Bewitched. Wow. The girl knows, and I can't do it. But anyway, you know what I'm saying, don't you? Oh, well. And here we are, trying to stay sane in the membrane after what's been done to my fellow humanity. No, I don't rejoice in it, even though there are enemies out there that truly, truly deserve everything that comes their way. I look at the big picture and it's global and it's billions of people affected and it's a little bit a bridge too far when they enacted that. Like, far the fuck out, people of Earth. Right. It's funny how I had the urge to cough just then, just added emphasis, you understand. Right, where were we? Yes, its secrets handed down from generation to generation. Secondly, it was well organised, and although each of its members operated individually in their own localities, each was required to attend general meetings, to take part in the ceremonies, and for instruction in working woe or doing harm. The Devil and the Queen of Elphin. The witches were organised in covens, groups of 13. At the general meetings, the devil himself presided, usually in the likeness of a great grey stag, boar, or dog. Presumably, he was a man dressed as an animal. The meetings were said to involve dancing and sexual relations with the devil, who went under the name of Christsen Day. I had to sniff at that, dear goddess. And with a woman called the Queen of Elphin, Queen of the Elves, who is said to be very pleasant, and she can seem old or young when she pleases. And she makes whoever she likes king, and lies with whoever she likes. Wow. We all want a king to our queen, don't we? I don't claim to be the Queen of the Elves. I leave that to the actual Queens of the Elves, you understand. I would not deign to take on their privilege and power and personae. The Fae are their own species and not to be fucked with, people of Earth. They were accused of saluting the devil and the queen by kissing them on the buttocks. There seems to have been no age limit on entrance, and many of the accused testified to having been introduced as young children. Each member of a coven specialised in some particular form of sorcery, and these covered a wide range. Isabel Cocky bewitched mills and livestock, while Margaret Ogg devoted her attentions to butcher meat with dire results. Helen Rogie brought illness and death by modelling figures of her victims in lead or wax, and Isabel Strong was notorious as a fascinator of nice young men. Isabel Ritchie made a special line in confectionery for expectant mothers, while Isabel Ogg's forte was the raising of storms. It would seem that the witches had one faculty that was common to all, that of causing the sudden sickness, whereby their victims lay one half of the day roasting as if in an oven, with an unquenchable thirst, the other half of the day melting away with an extraordinary cold sweat. Perhaps the most dramatic moment in the Aberdeen Assizes came when Andrew Mann turned King's evidence against his colleagues. A witch from boyhood and the father of several children by the Queen of Elflin, he convinced the court that, with his long and extensive experience, he was in the unique position of being able to identify any witch or warlock brought before him. Accordingly, he was appointed official witchfinder to the Assizes, and with a 3-inch needle pricked the suspects' bodies for the devil's mark, a spot insensible to pain and believed to be inflicted by the devil. Strangled by the executioner. While awaiting trial, the suspects were confined either in the cells of the Tolbooth or in Our Lady's Pity Vault, for the Reformation had brought degradation to this place of worship. A number of the accused took their own lives in prison, and their bodies were thrown outside to be dragged through the streets until their battered, shapeless carcasses were unrecognisable. When the Assizes closed in April 1597, 24 people, 23 women and 1 man, had been found guilty of witchcraft. All were condemned to death, to be taken out between the hills, bound to a stake, strangled by the executioner, and their bodies burnt to ashes. The few whose guilt was not proven were ordered to be branded on the cheek and banished, which meant uncertain death in those days anyway. So even if you were innocent, you were doomed, just for merely being accused. The final tragic scene took place between the hills, in the grassy hollow lying between Aberdeen's Castle Hill and the neighbouring Heading Hill, the depression now covered by Commerce Street, and the black reek and stench from the burnings hung over the burg for many weeks. At one stage in the Assizes, it appeared that the number of executions would increase, and the Dean of Guild, fearing rising costs might prejudice the burnings, took it upon himself to lay in a supply of coal to the value of £26, 4 shillings. His foresight paid dividends, as shown by the final entry in the records dated 21st of September 1597, which states that the Provost, Bailies and Council, considering the faithfulness shown by William Dunn, the Dean of Guild, in the discharge of his duty, and besides this, his extraordinary taking pains on the great number of witches burnt this year, and to encourage others to work as diligently in the discharge of their office, grant and assign to him the sum of £47, 3 shillings, 4pence. Made quite a profit by his industrious investing in coal, the expensive woman 23 women and 1 man. Before the end of the year, and while the subject of witchcraft and sorcery was still in people's minds, King James VI of Scotland, later James I of England, published his book, Demonology, in defence of witch hunting. It proved to be a bestseller, written by Fenton Wyness. Right, we'll stop there and we'll continue on tomorrow or whenever the hell I feel like it, people of Earth. But I have missed reading to you. I've just been very, very, very busy with my hands. My hands are very, very sore. Oh, before we go, before we dash, would you like me, well, whether you like it or not, I'm going to read to you my dream from this morning, which was a bit bizarre. And I like to record my dreams because sometimes they're just psychological trauma processing, and other times there's hidden little clues in them that only comes to make sense later on down the track when things play out. Or I'm not saying this dream was precognitive though, it was just interesting. And I've dreamt of walking into that little shop before, so it's a repetitive dream, which means there's a message in it that obviously I'm not getting since I keep having the same imagery presented to me over and over again. So let me read to you. If you're not interested in listening to my dreams, now's the time to switch off, people of Earth. But if you are interested, it is what it is. "7:36 a.m. Good morning. Alive in the psychedelic dreaming. Not quite fully synapsing yet. I had interesting dreams about walking through a city with lots of old interesting buildings and arcades. It looked a bit like Melbourne did during my childhood. I was being a tourist and just meandering around, taking in the sights and atmosphere, and kind of also feeling a tad lost, and anxious and overwhelmed, not knowing my way around. Feeling that odd sensation of not belonging anywhere, or with, or to, anyone, the other, the outsider, outrageous, malfeasant misfortune that is in fact freedom, motherfuckers. But I digress. A couple who were quite eccentric started following me everywhere, and I thought it was funny. So I walked meaninglessly, and they followed meaninglessly. I would look back, and we would sort of chuckle at each other. The husband commented to his wife that she has gotten fat and carried it on her back like me. I just laughed. Germanic or Slavic back fat is a thing, people of Earth. I went to a coffee shop where a very handsome-looking Danish man was serving. I ordered what looked like some kind of risotto. Nothing to drink, no tea or coffee. Just sat and ate, ravenously spooning big spoons of food into my mouth. I looked around the coffee shop. It was busy, but full of golden light, friendly faces, and a sense of ease, I relaxed a little bit. Somehow, I ended up walking with the Danish man after, with his 11-year-old son. He was agitated and seemed in a hurry, so he didn't walk beside me, but sort of alongside of or slightly ahead of me. I have a habit of walking like that with my friend Lynn and other people who tend to walk a bit slowly. I surge ahead and then I'll get ahead a certain distance and I'll think, I'm being really rude. I'm not doing it to be rude, it's just that I walk like that. I'm just power walking my way through life, people are there. So then I'll double back to her. She'll kind of look at me with circumspection. But I try to walk beside her. And other people when we're walking in groups and things like that. But I'm just so used to being on my own all the time that I've developed some very, what seemingly appear rude behaviours, but are just me used to being, walking alone, dancing alone, living alone, holding my head above water alone, trying not to fucking drown alone, certainly trying not to get strangled, still alone, 30 years later, certainly not wanting anyone malfeasant or evil in my life. Preferable to be alone. But yes, it's hard for me to walk, arm in arm or side by side someone unless they can match my level of anxiety and pace, I guess. It really is a form of anxiety. It's not done maliciously. It's just I can't be held back or down or tamed or trammeled or stymied in any way. Grinds my gears. Anyway, so this man's walking how I walk without me sort of slightly ahead, and anyway, he was agitated. I asked him where on earth was a good place to live these days, even though someone just walked over my body. Oh, okay, whatever. Even though I am trapped by fate and poverty in Brisbane, which is about to change, people of earth. I'm not tempting the gods, but there's change a-coming. I'm determined I'm going to get out of this poverty trap. I don't know how, and maybe I'll get better at my silversmithing and I'll be able to turn it into a legitimate, successful business, although that's a fantasy, people of earth. But I can see I'm working at it and I'm slowly improving my skills. So if the gods allow me to prosper, the gods will allow me to prosper with harm to none, competition with none. So it is done, people of earth. To the gods and the angels and the good people, because I'm doing this alone and it's overwhelming and terrifying, especially when I perpetually bloody fail at everything. But it's not for lack of trying. And what did I used to say to my ex, Courtney? At least I tried. At least I fucking tried. There were years when I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't function, and I couldn't have even dreamed of trying as hard as I'm trying right now in 2025. And I'm proud of myself in a way, because it's been a long, hard, grinding, tortured journey. So I'm proud of myself. Right, back to the dream. He said he was thinking about migrating to Germany. I said I was thinking about Spain. Although in real life everyone reckons Finland is the happiest place on earth now. I'd go to Finland, but won't be able to get my disability pension. And it's bloody cold there in the winter, so I'd be royally fucked just on that alone. And I don't have a serviceable career like nursing, doctor or lawyer that I could slot into some kind of reasonable standard of living. But apparently Finland's the place to be for anyone that chooses to migrate there. So anyway, Spain, he practically spat at me. Yes, Spain. Are you crazy? I set him a withering, baleful death glare. I hate when men ask me if I'm crazy. Not a good thing to do to the Tanya, especially given my history of barely surviving monsters. Don't ever ask me that. It won't go well for you. We won't be friends for very long at all. It's a huge trigger. Indeed it is. Invalidating and dehumanising and just plain bigoted and vicious. Mama T might seem crazy, but usually she is right on top of things, even when she herself doesn't know all the facts yet. She is used to trusting her intuition and her dreams. It saved me during the initial COVIDian madness. She's used to information to flow to her quickly in remarkable, unusual ways, indeed, and to trust that it is important or somehow valuable. So I walked away from the Danish man, but his son followed me for a short while, almost apologetic for his father. I told him he was a good boy and not to worry. I had a father like that. He will be okay, meaning the child will be okay. Really? Will he really just look at me here at age 60, abandoned and kicked to the fucking curb for loving? Targeting of the witch. It's insane, people of Earth. It's truly evil and insane. But anyway, on we go. We'll be okay, that little boy in the dream and I, because I've made it this far. And today was intensely creative and I almost made my cup. Almost, but not quite. I look up at the skies and see 4 tall black chimneys spewing black smoke into the stratosphere, the poisoned generation. Is that why everyone seems crazy today? I wonder. I shrug and keep walking, wishing I had something with me to drink. I walked along another interesting street of boutique shops. One had a sign on the side window, the hat shop. I walked to the front and climbed 3 steps and walked inside. It was a quirky looking shop, but there were no hats on display. 4 baleful, staring blonde women in their early 30s were all sitting in a line. They looked like Stepford wives, homogeneous, wearing yuppie clothes and bland beige or cream colours. They muttered to each other. Why are you here? What do you want? One of them asked with great obtuse authority. I found myself asking myself, what great questions. I came in to look at your hats as the sign said, this is a hat shop. Damn it, she says, I need to get rid of that sign. I replied, really? Yeah, in that case. Yeah, you do. I walk out front with her at my back and she flips it over. She looks at me like I am some kind of interloper. I shrug, amble away, amused to see my stalkerish couple off in the distance, still subversively following me. I give them a quick wave. They wave back, grinning at me. I wonder, who do they think I am? Some kind of celebrity? The dream dissipates like smoke on the water. I didn't wake up from that dream. I must have just slept deeper. When I did wake up, it felt like a shock. Like I wasn't meant to be here. It's taken me a few seconds to recalibrate or reintegrate. Mind you, it took me longer to write that story, but I'm trying to give the vibe of how it felt waking up, like fuck, here we are again. Which I often wake up like that. Sometimes I wake up ready to go and enthusiastic, and others it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Anyway, I continue writing. But today will be a good day. Indeed, it has been at 9:28 p.m. I've had a very productive day indeed. I will make it so. The othered celebrity, I still have to laugh about that. You know, there are a few people that used to come up to me in the Brooklyn Standard and they'd say, who are you? Who do you think I am? I'd get all paranoid like, so what the fuck's going on here? Oh, you're a celebrity. I went, am I? I'm a celebrity? And they went, why are you acting so humble? Like, I know you're a celebrity. And this happened on a few occasions. I don't know if they were put up to it or it was someone's idea of a joke, or still don't know what that was about actually. But it was odd. And they'd argue with me, yeah, you're a celebrity. The more I deny it, the more they'd say, you must be a celebrity, because a celebrity would answer like that. So in the end, I just like, okay, if you think I'm a celebrity, then I'm a celebrity. But I have no idea what for. You have to have done something pretty amazing or be extremely beautiful, be some wonderful talented actor or musician or dramatist or movie maker or something, author, to be a celebrity. Am I right, people of Earth? So I'm riffing on that because I still find it kind of hilarious that there were a few people that thought I was famous, and I said, no, I'm nobody. It's just Tanya. I'm just here to dance, do it every weekend. Been doing it for 14 fucking years. It's what I do. Doesn't make me a celebrity though. I don't think so. Well, anyway, occasionally I make out, pretend that I was, just for shits and giggles. But I'm very well grounded in reality, people there. I know exactly who and what I am. Everything and nothing. No one and someone. Depends on my mood, am I right? Sometimes I can be an arrogant motherfucker if the situation calls for it, but I'm not really always arrogant. Usually I'm quite self-effacing and modest and put myself down rather than build myself up. having an enormous fear of narcissism because I grew up with narcissists, and it's an ugly mental disorder. It really is ugly. It's putrid. Anyone thinking that they're better than someone else just because they might have a skill or a talent, or they might be wealthier, or might belong to a certain religion, or whatever confabulations in their brain, that thinks they can treat other people like dirt because they actually firmly believe that they're somehow superior. That's people like that are not well, genuinely not well. But then I admit I tend to go to the other extreme of playing down my talents and my abilities because it's nobody's business actually, but I do share it on YouTube on my videos, my little bragging rights, because, you know, I don't have a loving family, and I don't have a husband or a partner or lover. So I've got to take pride in my little bit of exponential soul growth and personal development and source and thing improvisation, really hoping to improve, because you've got to share your life with somebody, and I share it with you people that come to my YouTube. Some of you very likely my enemies and just sit there taking the piss out of me the whole time. Others are true loving friends that are happy for me and rejoice in my few successes and hope that I get my shit together for long enough that I can succeed to some level where I can be a bit arrogant and a bit, you know, a bit famous and a bit of a celebrity for real. But it's not my goal. It's not my aim. Just living my life day by day, breath by breath, moment by moment, one foot in front of the other, sometimes dancing, sometimes stumbling and falling down, getting up again, sometimes walking my walk and talking my talk, sometimes dreaming. Anyway, where was I? The other celebrity. This makes me laugh. That is made unwelcome in every echelon of society. Doesn't give a fuck, darlings. Ultimately, I really don't. I'm not impressed by other people, other humans. I don't care what job you do, what house you live in, what language you speak, what culture you come from, how many degrees you have, although that might impress me if you have 4 or 5 degrees, it's impressive, but I'm not impressed by material things, mansions, castles. I'm not impressed by, you know, I admire people who are successful, who have become wealthy by their own talents and abilities. That's admirable, but it's not something that I get envious of or try to outdo or aspire to. It's just be yourself. Do whatever you need to do to get through life, and if along the way the gods smile upon you and you become famous or wealthy, or because you're a talented and clever and hardworking or inspired or dedicated person, then good on you. And I'm just riding my own bicycle and paddling my own canoe and learning along the way, learning that the gods wouldn't let me leave planet Earth until I'd acquired a few skills and loved a few souls, that hopefully one day someone will love me back. Am I right, people of Earth? Could happen. It's in the lap of the gods, though. Anyway, where was I? The other celebrity that is made unwelcome in every echelon of society doesn't give a fuck, darlings. The reason being is I've been othered since early childhood. You can't hurt me. I mean, yes, I go away and I lick my wounds for a while. It is a wounding. It is a trigger and a wounding, but it doesn't stay with me for long because each time I've just got up and carried on as I've always done, living my best life. The ultimate revenge on your enemies, people of Earth. Live your best life and carry on from every ground zero. Build again, build again, build again. When my silversmithing fails and I get distraught like I did today, and I had a good look at it and went, even though it's a bit wonky and it's a bit amateurish and it's not quite right, I'll make it work. I'll wear it and I'll be happy with it too, because I put the work into it. And every failure I'll look at and I'll be like, Tanya, you know that's not quite right, and it will grind my gears, like with my little box, my wooden box behind me. There. It'll grind my gears until the expert, my friend Peter Sloan, was able to help me, because he has a circular saw, you understand. Cut it, I could put hinges on it, and now I can have it how I want it. And as I improve in my soldering and skill set, I'll improve with my cuff too. Maybe not that cuff, because I don't want to mess with it too much in case I ruin it completely. But the next one I make will be made better, and the one after that will be made even better, and so on and so on and so forth. But I'll keep that first cuff, and I'll laugh at it one day, and I'll be like, ha! I remember when it took you weeks to make that, and you sweated blood, sweat and tears, and tin tacks too, and spent a lot of money on it. And now you do it with ease. You see, you gain mastery in time if you apply yourself, and if you're patient and you're resilient. It's a bit hard to do that with love affairs though, because there's another human being involved and they have their own ideas and emotions and their own demons and tricksters and evil people interfering. So, sometimes you've just got to know when to walk away, know when to run, know when to hold your head high and just keep fucking dancing, people of Earth, because not giving in to your enemies is part of the gaining of the mastery over the psychopaths and the narcissists and the sadists and those that would like to see you destroyed and isolated and decimated and even potentially killed. The Danish man, so afraid or disgusted by the very thought of Spain. Amusing. I was trying to figure out what that meant, why he was upset about the thought of moving to Spain. Spain's a lovely place to live in as far as I know. Maybe not as good as Finland though. But no better and no worse than living in Brisbane, Australia, people of Earth. Then I continued writing. You can see I'm processing it in a way. Processing. I process everything. Everything, people of Earth. It's how my brain works after surviving too many near deaths, even in early childhood. It's wired differently to other people's. It's why you may not always react the same as other people either, depending on the situation, you understand. Anyway, here I write. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, but I'm thinking also about that Elton John song, Daniel. That's probably what my subconscious was dredging up. And I could hear the refrain. Daniel, my brother, you are older than me. Do you still feel the pain? Of the scars that won't heal, you rise and die. You see more than I. Daniel, you're a star in the face of the sky. And so on and so forth. Daniel is leaving tonight on a plane. I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain, oh, and I can see Daniel waving goodbye. Lord, I miss Daniel. Must be the stars in his eyes. I know I go in and out of tune, but trust me, I sing better than I used to when I was younger too. I used to have a terrible, terrible voice. So it's another thing I've been happy to have somehow my brain has switched back on. Probably from years of dancing for live bands, am I right? Then I posted the video of Elton John singing Daniel, and then I wrote, I am almost 9 years free of psychotropic drugs, which will be on the 9th of June. And where am I now? Still poisoned. But I, my darlings, be afraid, be very afraid. As I fought long and hard to have my mind back, I am surviving, at times thriving. It's a beautiful thing, a work of art, a manifestation of all my most heroic psychedelic dreaming, to be this alive and this courageous and this amazing. I have a long road ahead, still meandering, still finding someone to love me and to love back. Without discord, treachery, misalignment, misalignments plural, reality checks, communication, honour and integrity. Run along, Danish man of my dreams. Nothing to see here, laughing my ass off. And attached is a photo of my sleep results, which was 1.6 events. It means I stopped breathing 1.6 times per hour, which was better than yesterday's when I stopped breathing. Let me just quickly scroll back to that. 2.1 times an hour. So I've had a couple of bad nights with my sleep apnea, with my breathing, but it is what it is, people are there. Sometimes I'm like one of those little inchworms. I 3 or 4 steps forward, 2 steps back, forward and back. I feel constantly like I'm in some kind of sliding scale where I get so close to reaching my goals and then my health slides out from under me, or some other fucking awfulness happens, and it is what it is. It's my life as I know it, and something I have to make peace with and accept too, because that hasn't changed in 60 years either. But maybe I'll make it to Spain one day. I'd like to see the Gaudi Museum. I think that'd be, or that the house that he built would be amazing to see. What else would I like to see in Spain? Everything, everything, everything. Anyway, thus concludes today's readings, and I tacked on my dream from this morning because I peruse my own videos, and it's this way it's recorded, both on Facebook and here in this video on YouTube. And if I stumble across it 10 years from now, I'll be like, oh, there she was, dreaming of Spain and being disparaged by a Danish man who didn't like the idea of Spain at all. And it doesn't make sense to me now, but it might make sense to me sometime in the future. Or it might just be my normal brain defragmenting while I'm trying not to die in my sleep, people of Earth. That's probably more likely. It occurred to me while I was reading it out to you aloud that Jared and I were at Carindale last week, and we did indeed go to look at a hat shop there, but when we got in it, we both agreed that there was a weird vibe and it felt beige and not our style of hats, and we walked out. So that was kind of a memory from that event, came up in the dream. It's probably all that means. The only difference is the walking into the shop that said it was a hat shop but really wasn't, and I wasn't welcome there. I've been in that shop before in the dreamscape many times, and similar encounters with similar women, so it's important somehow, and I just can't work out how or why, but I'm likely to actually find that shop one day and walk into it. Not necessarily have the encounter with the women in the dream, but the shop I believe I will actually come across one day, because I keep dreaming of it. Perhaps it's a shop I myself might rent or own one day, sell my jewellery in. Oh, isn't that a nice fantasy? But anyway, it was a very quaint shop. It had 2 windows out the front, 3 little steps going up to the door in the middle, in the centre of the windows, and the sign saying it was a hat shop. So they were like, what do you call that? Bow windows? There's a word for that. Anyway, on the right hand side of the window, to the side of it was where she had the sign saying it was a hat shop. And then when I walked around, I went into the doorway. And when I opened the door, I didn't write it down in my dream, but there was a bell on the door, which tinkled when I walked in, which I found enchanting because I keep bells on my back door too and on my front door. So it actually tinkled, and I thought, oh, how sweet. And then I started looking around and realised there weren't any hats at all. A few fascinators, but nothing really that could be described as hats, and I was a bit confused. And then the women were quite nasty about me being present there in the dream, so we went out of there, ASAP. But yeah, the building was quaint and sort of 1940s or early 1950s, and kind of reminds me of some of the shops that used to be. I don't know if they're still there either. Haven't been there in a long time. But up from Woolloongabba, kind of had that feel about it. I might actually take a drive down and have a walk around that area, because I feel like, although I'm dreaming it, it's a real place that I've either been to or I'm going to go to. That part, not the part about the silly Stepford Wives women that I had no time for, because I can't stand bitchy, bullying females, or males for that matter, but I just can't stand beige, bitchy, bland people. I just, homogenous people give me the heebie-jeebies. So I'm not searching for them is what I'm saying, but I'll be curious to see if I come across that little shop, because it was quite quaint. And anyway, one day I might have my own little shop. That's the psychedelic dreaming anyway. if I live long enough and I get enough skills, and if eventually I'm able to sell stuff and get some kind of a turnover or business developed, I don't think it's very likely given our economic climate post-COVIDian madness. And anyway, haven't been supported financially in my endeavours at all. Not even when I went to the markets. There was a lot of bullying happened even at the markets. It was abhorrent. So it put me off even bothering to try ever again, really. This is how they get you. They crush you until you don't even want to try anymore. But I know with my health it was a huge effort to get to the markets and be there, in the mornings, and it's not my bag. It's just not my scene. It's a lot of work and exhausting, and then, there were no actual, enough sales to even cover the rent, so it was a loss each time, and so I decided against that. But I'm still learning the silversmithing and improving on my skills, because one day, I might get enough proficiency to make really lovely quality things that aren't bodged up like I did with my calf. And although I did a damn good job with the bezel this time, it worked like a charm. Thicker metal. The other stuff was just too fine, too thin. Anyway, so you see, I've learnt something today. I can improve on things. It's just swings and roundabouts. Anyway, on that note, I bid you good night. It's 2 hours and 41 minutes in. I was only going to go for 2 hours, but I wanted to share that dream. It feels important for some reason. And the time is now 9:53 p.m, so I'm going to toddle off and turn in a little old lady crone and sleep the sleep of the just, and someone who's worked hard with her hands all day to the point where my arthritis is, the knuckles are all swollen and my hands are sore, and I'll pay for it tomorrow. But I'm going to have a nice little schluffy, and I may even breathe. Bye for now, people there. To those of you who dream big for me too, because you can see I'm trying really hard to get myself into some kind of a lifestyle where I'm safe and I'm blessed and I'm surrounded by good, kind, loyal, loving friends and family and community and or tribe, and one day even a sexual, mutually exclusive love partnership too. Let's ask for it all, people of Earth. When you start with nothing, then all potentiates can manifest by the will of the gods and by my own resilience and joy and delight and mischief and whimsical heart-centeredness and integrity and occasional sweetnesses. And wow, I never actually thought I would live to 60, and here I am, 60 and 1 month and 7 days. 60 years old and 5 weeks today. Oh, blessed be. Bye for now, people of Earth. Take good care, be of good cheer. Remember as always to never ever let the bastards grind you down, no matter who they are or where they are or from what echelon they come at you at. Don't let them grind you down. Mama T's not going to. It's the ultimate life force and embodiment of each soul is to hold your line. Goddess, the Divine Feminine, bless us all. Bye for now.